Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and this evening we're going to be doing a continuation of something we started at lunchtime today, which has to do with our emotions. And if you've ever had any, you will relate to this. And if you've ever had any that you weren't too proud of, you will probably relate to this. And last but not least, if you've ever had any strange physical reactions after you've had a problem with emotion, then this is definitely the video that you will understand and relate to. So, before we get started on all of that, we're going to do what we normally do, which is just update people a little bit on um, how the various members are doing and what they're up to and what their progress is. So, first of all, I wanted to give thoughts and prayers out to Erin. She's been waiting for some blood sugar levels to get corrected, and we're hoping that that has worked out for her. I'm waiting for an update on that one. For those of you who know Lauren, she has been had a strange week, good and bad. For some reason, she's out of nowhere suddenly started to get sick this week. But the good news is that she's well enough that they're starting to talk about sending her home. So that was absolutely amazing and wonderful to hear. Jodie's had a difficult week as well. And, but Jodie's Jodie. She does a wonderful job of supporting us. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And Kerry, I think she's over the worst of the problems that she was having. So it's good to hear that she is progressing nicely. And Becca, I haven't heard of from this week, but she did pop into the broadcast last week. So maybe we'll see her sometime over the weekend. And then we've got Beth. Now, Beth, if you don't know, is one of our newer viewers, but she has been working really hard to change some of her behavior patterns. And so I'm going to give her a lot more kudos in a minute when I do the next part of this broadcast. Birthdays, for those of you who remember Roseanne, it's her birthday today, and happy birthday, Roseanne, if you happen to listen. And for those of you who know Jonas, his birthday is coming up on the 14th. And next, if you are listening to this or watching this and you're new to the live broadcasts, I really would recommend that you subscribe to the Dear Mama Sal channel if you like personal growth. That's what we do. Plus, we laugh a lot. And we also do sort of handy hints and various other things that I think will make your life a little bit better. As I always say, my goal is to help you cope with life because it gets very difficult sometimes. So feel free to subscribe. By the way, if there is a bell just under my face or near my face at the top right-hand corner here, feel free to click that as well. And that will keep you informed. But if you want to be informed of when the broadcasts are happening, please make sure you follow me and Dear Mama Sal on Facebook and on Twitter. The only thing that I'm not Dear Mama Sal on is Instagram, because somebody took my name. And there I am the real Dear Mama Sal, because obviously the other person wasn't. If you get my drift. All right, so here are a couple of updates for you. The first one, I was talking about Beth earlier, and it's quite cute. For those of you who don't know, I had said to Beth, "Hi there, Nana, good to see you." I had said to Beth that I would send her this badge because she loved this badge, so I would send her this badge if she managed to keep her calories averaging above 1,000 calories a day. And that, funny enough, is more difficult than it sounds because she was grossly under eating. And I'm pleased to say that so far her averages are over 1,000, so that's great. She's got one more week to go. Sakura, for those of you who know Sakura, she started CrossFit. Chloe, for those of you who know her, she really bought into the either do it or don't do it, just don't bother with the excuses. Kim told me that she had walked for 2 hours. I forgot to check with her today. She was on the earlier broadcast. how she was doing with that this week. Ireland is getting himself ready to get on with that writers group that he was talking about. Hi, Jody. Good to see you. Canada said that she was going to start walking, and I'm waiting to see her come in this weekend so I can update that. Jonas will be doing the aluminum foil trick, which is where you roll up aluminum foil or aluminum foil. Sorry, that's bad. You'd think I could get it right by now. I can't remember which is which. What do they say in North America? Aluminum, right? Yeah, somebody help me here. Anyway, so roll up a whole lot of aluminum foil and throw it in an old sock and tie a knot in the sock. Throw it in your dryer. You won't need dryer sheets. I don't know why it works, but it does. Something about the fact that as it hits the side, it discharges any electrical buildup. Linda got herself a new treadmill and she realizes that it's now me time. She gets, when she goes on there, it's like it's totally for her. So she loves it. And Jody has started crocheting granny squares again, but apparently she's been doing a lot of unpicking. Is that right, Jody? If I understood that correctly from the first broadcast. So it's a step forward and 3 steps back. I don't know how you do that. Hang on a second. I would think you click back on the same. Jody would know because she uses them all the time. So I'll wait for her to tell me. Okay, let me see if I can do it. Those are the emojis. Yeah, you just click the same place where it was before, Nana. In other words, it becomes a keyboard, so just click on the keyboard. The emoji face turns into a keyboard when you're in the emoji screen. Yeah, Jody, try not to make your perfectionism. Okay, so Nana, you know the emoji face that you click to get the emojis. All right. When you're in the emoji screen, that face turns into a keyboard. So if you want to get out of emojis, you just click on the little keyboard thing. I think she normally watches on the computer. That's why. But that's a good question, Jody. Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, the learning moment. All right, so where are we next? I've lost my train now. There we go. On my news, it's a pleasure, Nana. That's how we learn things, right? Is we mess it up and then find out how to correct it. The good news is that I don't know if you remember about my Jeep. I know Nana will remember about my Jeep. But the good news was about the Jeep, Nana, that it was a battery connection issue, and I was fully covered by that. I bought a battery with a 2-year warranty on it, and so all that work was totally covered. That didn't cost me anything. But the good news was that while it was in the shop, I realized that it was there, and I went, wait. While the Jeep is there, could you check that connector thing for my trailer? And they did, and it was totally corroded, which is why it didn't work. So I said to them, okay, please put on a new one, because the only way I can find out if the problem is with the trailer is to replace one of them. All right. So what I did was I replaced that, and you'll be pleased to hear that when I got it back, I reversed it up to the trailer, plugged it in, and my flashers are working again. Yay. Which means I can take another step forward and start reloading the trailer. And I think what I will probably do is go midweek sort of thing, not over the long weekend or something. The weather's been so beautiful. It would have been a wonderful time to go, but never mind. The main thing is, I think I've got the answer to it now. Now then, I don't know if I'm the only one that watches Lethal Weapon as a TV series, but what really upset me this week is that the lead character just got fired. And I'm heartbroken because I love that show. I don't watch very much television, but that is one of the shows other than Bull that I really watch. And the fact that he is the lead and his character is so way out there that I am heartbroken because I'm pretty sure they'll have to cancel the series. So not only does he lose a job, but I guess everybody else that worked on the series does as well, which is sad. However, I have no doubt that we will see him pop up again doing something else. And I want to tell you, there are not many times when I write on a celebrity's Instagram account, but I did write on his and say how very sorry I was and how much I was going to miss him. So, because it was true. Right. For Nana, I don't know if you struggle at all with leg cramps or restless leg syndrome. Excuse me, but I went to the specialist and he was asking me about how that had been. And I'd forgotten to mention this, I think, in my vlogs. But one of the things he had done was to tell me to take calcium and magnesium. So if any of the viewers are watching that have restless leg syndrome or who have leg cramps, try calcium and magnesium, because I have to be quite honest, I don't believe that I've had leg cramps since I started taking that. And it's literally one tablet a day. And it's really helped me. So just try it. It's worth trying. I mean, Jody, another pill won't, you rattle when you walk anyway, right? And the other thing, Nana, I thought I might tell you in case I know that you listen to what do you call them? Audiobooks. Have you ever tried Open Library? Open Library has... Yes, I used to get them at night, Nana, yeah. I used to get leg cramps. I used to get them at night and first thing in the morning. All right, so just check out Open Library, exactly as it sounds. And they have free audiobooks. Hang on. As many, that you just type in whatever book you want. Yeah, I had a feeling that you did. So when I found it, and I think it's done by UBC. Anyway, so I thought you might like to have a look at that. Give it a look. I actually downloaded a book this week. I think they lend it to you for 2 weeks. And yeah, so I thought I'd share that with you. Now, just so you know, we are going to be starting the main session here in a second. I wonder where everybody is this evening. It's unusual. Oh, well, we can still go ahead. I guess they'll come in when they're good and ready. Did you get the warnings? Sometimes the reason people aren't here is because something's gone wrong with the warnings, but I believe I did put them up. So I wanted to talk today about emotion. And we had a really good broadcast at lunchtime about, hi, Sharon, just in time. Jody, if I could do a time check at 14 minutes. We had this great broadcast at lunchtime. You didn't get a warning. I did put them up. That's really strange. Hang on a second. Sometimes what happens is I get all the stuff ready and I forget to push no. I put it up and people saw it. So it's there. Never mind. They'll come in if they want to. I always believe that the right people will be here. So at lunchtime today, we were talking about what happened to me with the tow company when I had the problem with my car. And I think who was there? Jody, you were there. It was a really good broadcast. And when I say really good, because what I did is I walked through all the things that happened to me and did it at a pace where we could identify everybody's triggers. And so, that's really interesting. I'll put up a second one. Hold on one second. Just hold on. I'll put something else up. Okay. So, yeah, and so I really recommend, if you want to learn about what triggers are, I really recommend that you listen to it, because I think that it really helped people that I actually told the story and showed where the triggers were along the way, or at least the triggers for me. And I managed to hear that quite a few people were identifying where their triggers were as well. And I absolutely kept control for the longest time. And then right towards the end of the story, I got triggered, and it was a bad trigger for me. Hi, Kim. This Kimmy. So what we're going to be talking about tonight actually is emotion, but I want to talk about after you've been triggered, as I was with the story that I told at the noon broadcast. You remember that Kerry was saying after it, there is this downslide after you've had one of these incidents. And what I wanted to talk about is what happened to me physiologically, not just psychologically, but what happened to me physiologically. And because I think that's important. So I thought we'd just have a quick look at what emotion is. And I looked it up in various dictionaries. And what I found was that basically it says a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. So simply, emotion is a state of mind. Hi, Debbie. Good to see you. Does that make sense? Emotion is not something that somebody gives you. Emotion is your state of mind. Is that pretty clear? And which is why I say that my emotion is my responsibility, not somebody else's. And the second thing to notice is that it's a naturally instinctive thing that happens. All right. You don't have emotion because you're stupid or weird or over emotional, or you have emotions because it's natural. And again, remember, it is a state of mind. So my question to you guys is, have you noticed that your emotion or your state of mind can be swayed by your experience? In other words, that in one moment, that day or that month or that year, you can have one emotion, and then you can have the same sort of experience another day and you don't have that emotion. You have a different one. Have any of you noticed that? So my question to you is, why is that? Why uh, do we have one emotion one day and we're not emotional about it the next? Can you give some thought to that? Because what I think is really important to understand is that emotion, if we own it, because it's ours, will be driven by what's going on inside us at any given time, right? It's actually not so much about what other people do, unless it's a really serious one, as it was for me in the story that I spoke of at lunchtime. But what causes emotion is the small things. So Jody's saying that emotion can be influenced by hormones. How many of you have found that? How many of you found out that depending on what drugs you've been prescribed, it can seriously affect your emotions as well? Yeah, I agree that I think any female will tell you that, yeah, it's definitely your hormones can affect it big time. And you're going, what happened to my emotions now? Yeah. So I thought we'd take a little bit of time. I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I said at lunchtime because I think it's important that you understand where we're getting at. I'm re-quoting Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, who said there are only two emotions. One is love and one is fear. Does that make sense? And that every other emotion is either coming from a place of love or coming from a place of fear. And I think if you're going to talk about our emotions, if you understand it's really as simple as that, we are either in a loving state of mind. Well, we're going to get to that. We're either in a loving state of mind or we are in a fearful state of mind. So, Debbie, good question. Debbie asks, what about death? All right. So, is that a positive state of mind or a negative state of mind? And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm saying that in terms of let's make sure we can put it in the right category. So, when you're dealing with a death, are you feeling in a positive way or are you in a negative way? So some people can deal with death remembering all the good times. Very few, but some people can do that. So this is a personal thing. When you deal with death, right, Debbie. So, and Kim agrees with you and Jody also agrees with you. And, I tell the story. It depends on the situation. And as I have told the story that when my mother died, on Valentine's Day many years ago, my instant reaction was to say, "Thank God." My reaction was not one of loss for me. It was about, I am so happy for her because she was not in a happy place and she'd been bedridden for many years. And so the news of her passing was, in fact, a good thing for me to hear. And I don't know if that makes me sound incredibly callous, but that's how I took it. I didn't think about me. I didn't think about my loss. All I could think about was that she was in a much better place than she had been. Does that make sense? So in that circumstance, for me, it was an almost positive experience. And yet, everybody I spoke to expected me to be in tears for a week. And I said, why would I do that? It won't make her come back. I just want to be grateful for the fact that she's gone and is in a better place. So it was, I think, a moment where I realized I had grown up quite a bit. Linda, you are absolutely right. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. Yes, she was free. That is exactly how I saw her. And so to me, it was not a negative thing. However, I understand that for a lot of people it is. When my father died, wow. And who was Jeff, Debbie? And forgive me for not knowing. And do I have permission to talk about that out loud? Because I'm thinking about I'm thinking about the rebroadcast here. I won't talk about it unless you tell me that I can, because that's a pretty scary thing. Okay, so Debbie's saying that she went downstairs to give her lifelong partner some food and found him in bed dead. So how many of you can see that is more that is more than just emotion? And it's heartbreaking to hear that, and the shock to your system. We were talking about this at lunchtime, Debbie, that's what sets up the fight or flight syndrome. All right. You suddenly are taken out of your normal life and you're put into an incredibly scary situation. So one of the parts of grieving is that if we do it correctly, that we look at all those bits and hopefully learn from it. So the shock of what you saw, first of all, I'm pretty sure you were sort of, no, he can't be dead. Denial is the first thing that happens. We go into, no, that he must be breathing, surely. And then you realize that he actually is dead. And then you deal with all the rest of it. But what the shock to your body is amazing. And for anybody else who has done that and been there, I'm quite surprised. Yes. And may I talk about that, Nana? Just let me know yes or no. Um, so, what happens is it's a tremendous shock to our survival system. And we don't realize it, but there are lots of underlying issues going on. So why are we emotional? What is that, a negative or a positive? Okay. Yes, Debbie, I totally understand that you try to wake him. I don't know if you know, Debbie, but Nana, known as Shop Girl here, she'd gone out shopping and her husband had a heart attack while she was out shopping. So you can imagine, the first she knew is she got a call to get home in a hurry, and the ambulance got there before she did. So you look at it, and those are things that are shock for the system. So to me, those are what I call extreme cases. Does that make sense? And that's, I mean, a death of a family member, very good news and very bad news are equally stressful to the system. Did you know that? So a wedding can be as stressful for some people as a death. So the reaction you have to those things, I don't perceive that to be negative or positive. What I see that as is that is a traumatic event. Yeah. Sharon, let me know if I can talk about that as well. So if you understand that I want to not talk about death this evening because that isn't the topic. All right? So Sharon's saying she did something instinctively. She started CPR on her husband, knowing that he didn't want to be resuscitated. Yeah. So Nana's saying that Rick had an aneurysm. So it's not that I don't want to help on these situations. That's a whole separate broadcast, and it's not the one that I have ready for today. I'd like to do a lot more around that to do that broadcast. So if I can take what I call the regular emotions, not the traumatic event emotions for today. And so what I wanted to find out, although I'd like all of you who've been through this death situation to let me know if you had any physical reaction after that. So maybe it'll all tie in beautifully. I'm a great believer that those things happen. And Kim, let me know if I can talk about that one. So does it make sense to you if we can believe that there are basically just two major emotions, one is love and one is fear? Even in a death, what is the fear that we have? The fear is we're going to be alone, that person won't be around us anymore. There are a lot of fear factors that happen around a death, and it has to do, quite honestly, with us. There are not many happy stuff around that. I wanted to do this experiment and talk a little bit about, some people see our weekly broadcasts, these serious ones that we do on Fridays. Some people see those as negative. Hate's a negative emotion. All right, keep notes on that one, Nana. Bring it back to me in a second, if you will. Hate is definitely a negative emotion. So think about this. Some people can watch these broadcasts and they have a negative reaction. It's too serious, which is, oh, I'm not going to watch anymore. This is getting too serious. Other people can see them and go, wow, these are really informative and funny at times. So what is the difference? Because we know it's the same material. How come some people see it as negative and some people see it as positive? What is the difference? Yeah. So do you understand? It's not that I'm doing anything different. I've always done what I do. But what's different is it depends on the state of mind the viewer is in. All right. So if the viewer doesn't want to deal with their stuff, do you understand this is pretty negative to them? If a viewer is looking to grow emotionally, they're going, wow, I can't believe that, I'm getting help with this. Right? And it's free. So, it's like, to me, that is the difference. Yeah, exactly. So I had a look at Psychology Today and listen to what they said. I thought it was fascinating. Yes, if they're trying to hide their emotions. Exactly, Nana. So if you're trying to, it's called your shadow side. And I want to do a broadcast on that as well. All right, so here's what Psychology Today said. It said feelings like disappointment, irritation, embarrassment, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear are actually very clear moments that let us know when we're holding back. That's a bit difficult to hang on to that one, but I hope we'll get around to that. They teach us to perk up when we feel we'd rather collapse and back away. They are like messengers that show us with absolute clarity exactly where we are stuck. How many of you can see that? When we lose control, we lose our emotional control. Have you noticed that? So, if you spend your life being very angry at the world and every driver that shares the road with you, or trying to control everybody around you, then it's a big wake up call if you want it to be. You can see that your life is probably not a very positive one. And therefore, you're probably not a very happy person. Does that make sense? Because all of your emotions are about keeping control of others and yourself. I have a memory. I don't know if any of you relate to this. I remember saying once, I'm really scared to get angry because I'm scared of what I might do. Yeah. Nana, let me know if I can repeat that because that's so true. Now, I wanted to give you an example because if you hear the story about what happened with my car, you will know that I had a situation that was dangerous to me. And that's what triggered me. Now, I didn't realize that it had had an effect on me to the degree that it did, but does it make sense to you that if you get triggered on one side, the chances are you're going to get triggered on others? All right. So it's like Pandora's box gets opened and had everything going beautifully and suddenly other things spill out as well. That's the way I like to describe it. Yeah. And Nana's saying that her father used to tell her that never use the word hate. And he said that you don't know what the word hate is until you've been in a war. Until then, you don't know what it is. And he apparently never mentioned war again. I believe that is true of a lot of veterans. They They really don't want to talk about it. It was, too horrible to even talk about. So this experience that I had set up some negativity in my system. Does that make sense to everybody? Not that I did it consciously, it just opened up a box, and the box was not a happy box. It was, one of being abused and wrongly treated and, a lot of other stuff that went down that road. Now, what I noticed, and I'm not sure if Kerry will get in there, but if any of you have been through a traumatic event, um, then you will relate to this. But what I noticed was the next day, that's okay, the next day, I started biting my nails. Now, you all know me for somebody with, really gorgeous nails. Now, they're not bad at the moment, but they're not my usual nails. So, yeah. So Nana understands this because she and I have spoken of this before. And what I realized was this was a physical sign that things inside my head were not right. Does that make sense? Something had been triggered, and the reason that I knew it was because I started biting my nails. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute. I dealt with the situation about the car. Why am I biting my nails? Now, here's the difference between people who want to grow and people who don't. People who want to grow will take the time to go through things. And what I did was to say, well, okay, let me try and work this one out. What has happened to me recently that has in some way been fearful? Do you understand? Because we know it's either love or fear. And so if I've something's happened to me that was fearful because do you understand that biting your nails is not an adult behavior? And that's how I can tell whether I'm having an emotional reaction to something, is that my behavior isn't. Hi, Lauren, welcome. uh, so my behavior isn't of an adult. My behavior is of a little kid biting its nails. Can you see that picture? So I start to process what has happened to me that I perceived, all right, because this is about me, that I perceived to be frightening. Something has happened that frightened me because we're either in a place of love or in a place of fear. And it took me some time to work it out. Linda's saying her body breaks out in hives. Yes, Nana, I used to suck my thumb as well, and I totally understand what you're saying. It used to be my go-to, but I've grown out of that, and that's why my teeth stick out. But that's okay. It gives me my character. I'm quite happy with that because I'm not going to change it. So let me explain what I managed to work out. I think that's really honest, by the way, Nana. And I think a lot of people will relate to that. So Linda has answered a question I was going to ask later, but that's wonderful that you got there immediately, Linda. I was saying earlier that I am so impressed with the work that you have done on yourself. When I think of where you were at when I first met you and your honesty and willingness to tell your truth today is just, in a totally different place. I'm so proud of you. So, is biting your nails a positive thing or a negative thing? That was my thing. And I'm going, no, that is not the behavior of a balanced person. That is the behavior of a child going, by the way, how many of you can go, that's almost guilt stuff, right? If you see me sort of going like this, it's like I'm going to get into trouble. type. Can you see that? It's like I always say, if you've ever been a cutter or done anything that is self-mutilating, um, that is. Oh, Lauren, can I talk about that on a cast? Because they won't see that. Okay, so somebody's saying that they pick at their nails rather than bite them. I actually started to chew mine. So yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure that I checked with you before I read that out. Hi, Sakura. So if you can see that the reaction I had, the physical reaction that I had, was a negative one, and it was one of a child, not one of a adult. How, Jamie? So here's what I managed to work out, and it took me quite a while to work it out. And I wonder if you will take this journey with me and pretend you are me for a second, okay? Because there are two things I'm going to tell you about, and I want you to check in and tell me if what reaction would you have? Hi, Maria. Yes, Maria's saying that and welcome. She's saying that she's a teacher and she sees children biting their nails when they get into trouble. Yeah, I am well aware that's so. Here I am. Some of you know I'm busy downsizing my house. It's a pleasure. Big hugs to you. Do we know you from somewhere else, or did you just happen to pop in and say hi? And by the way, if there are any other people ghosting this broadcast, welcome. We welcome you to listen to us. You don't ever have to talk to us if you don't want to. We know an awful lot of people who have listened to the broadcast and been helped. Thank you, Maria. That is great to hear. Then it makes them worthwhile doing. I always say that if one person thanks me, then yeah, some people know me from Benji and Judy, right? So anyway, here I was busy trying to clean up I have two decks on my house, one at the back, one at the front. I was cleaning up my front deck. And what I found out was the covering of my deck has lifted. Do you know what I'm trying to say here? The deck covering should be firmly secured, but somewhere or another it has sprung, it's come away from that, and now it's not. It's allowing water to get in. So my question is, can you understand if you were in my position trying to downsize your house to get ready to sell it? What is your reaction when you see that there is a major problem like that? Is it one of love or is it one of fear? Because what I want to do is to make sure that you understand how really Jampolsky is right. You you want to solve it. Yeah, I know, but is it one? All right, so Nana's going, that's not major. For Lauren, she says it's total fear. Jody said it was anxiety. So, but what I saw, I actually got a sort of shock because I looked at it and went, oh my gosh. And this means if I get this fixed, it's going to cost me money I probably haven't got. Yes, and Nana, I'm going to be talking about that. Exactly, and that's what I'm going to be doing in a little bit. I have that to talk about. So, but do you understand? This was not a fun experience. This was, oh, look at that. And it's not, it's fairly, I probably about a 16th of the deck. So then that was one thing. And then some of you remember do any of you remember the video that I did where I made a plan about my leaking shed? Yes, Linda, and that was it. The fear was that I'd have to spend money that I don't have. Yes, exactly. And that's what it triggered for me as well. And then within the same week, same couple of days, this is after the trailer. So the trailer was on level. Then it was the deck, and then within a couple of days, I happened to see my shed from on high. I opened a window in my bathroom that looked down on top of my shed and realized that the tarp that I had over my shed had been ripped and the roofing had been destroyed, and I was looking at chipboard. So I think what had happened is somehow or other rodents of some sort had got under the tarp and had eaten the roofing and the tarp to get out again. How would you react? What would your reaction to that be? Negative, would it be one of love? Oh, I'm so glad I was able to feed the little monsters. Or was it one of fear? And if it's fear, fear of what? And Nana, I'm going to talk about that, as I said. So just bear with me a second. Yes, so you can relate to that, Jody, right? It's just like another expense that I don't have. So you're quite right, Nana. This is about I'm busy reacting from a negative place. The damage is quite severe. So do you all get how this was layer upon layer of negativity? And again, money I don't have, right? Or I choose not to spend. All right. So what I want you to do is to see that the one thing, the trailer wasn't the issue. It was the trailer followed by the deck, followed by the shed. Got that? And so now this has. Do you think I started biting my nails because I didn't have the money, or do you think it might have been for another reason? And I want you to just imagine this is happening to you. I understand that the money financial issue would have triggered a lot of people. I had a different reaction. I don't know if any of you can relate to this. When I got really honest with myself, I felt guilt. And the guilt that I felt was that I felt like I was irresponsible. I hadn't looked after my home or my finances correctly. Can anybody relate to that? For that split second, yeah. Even though it was beyond my control, I just want to make sure you understand when I really looked at it. Yeah, the money was an issue, but for some reason it triggered guilt. Yeah, because, yeah. So I want to now get on to what I did about it, which is what Nana's talking. Yeah, I think most of us that are get caught up in emotion feel guilty. So would you like to know how I changed that emotion, that fear emotion, that guilt? You understand guilt is a fear. I've been a bad person. How did I change it back into a positive one? All right. So I thought that's what I would talk about today, if it would help anybody. What did I do to process out of this is the end of my world into, okay, we can do it. So first of all, I had to ask myself, I chose to ask myself, was there any truth in that statement about that I was irresponsible? Right? Because I found if you can look at the truth, and I had to say at some level, yes. I did not get the shed fixed when I should have done. Yes, we're feeling we're not responsible enough. And that's, somewhere in my brain, Maria, somewhere in my brain, that tape was playing. Somebody was telling me I was irresponsible. And it wasn't necessarily totally true. But in a way, I could see that it was partially true. And I was prepared to take responsibility for that. But feeling guilty is not going to make me feel better. We all know that one. So I needed to get out of that space. I needed to get away from the guilt because the guilt's not going to help anybody. It's just going to change my mood dramatically, and people are going to get punished for that, and I didn't want that. So, number one thing is look at it and see, is there any truth in it? So acknowledge the reality, okay? And but as Nana so correctly says, even if it's got those 2 floors that are going to cost the buyer money, does it mean that it will not sell? That the house will never sell because it's got some work that needs to be done on it? No, that's not true. So I had to be very adult about that. All right. My kid would want to stay crying, and it's not fair. And how could this happen to me? Da 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 da. My Yes. So what I needed to do was to remember that even with floors, it would still sell. Can you see that? Now, the question was, and this is where Nana hit it really the nail on the head, was how much will it lower the value of my house to have a deck that needs recovering and a shed that needs a new roof, a total new roof? It needs new chipboard and new roofing. And as Nana so correctly said, can I make a plan to get them fixed? Maybe my neighbor next door is a person that does a lot of home renovation. Maybe he knows somebody that can do that and can do it at a really good price. But here's the next question, as Nana so correctly said, will it guarantee a higher result? And can I guarantee that I'll get, if I spend that money, can I guarantee that I'll get that money back? Do you understand my thinking? Or, as Nana so correctly said, can I announce that it has these 2 major floors and a couple of other little ones, right, in my declaration about the house, and just sell it as is? But the next thing, can I do anything to save the integrity of my property? In other words, is there anything I can do in the meantime to protect my home? That's what the next thing was that I looked at. In other words, without spending a lot of money to redo everything, is there anything I can do? Do you understand? That's proactive. I'm not just going to sit there and watch the shed get ruined. I'm not going to sit here and watch the deck get even more ruined. What I want to do is, how do I protect what is here? So can you think of anything I can do to protect my deck, first of all? We know that part of the covering is lifting. What can I do? Anybody? And so that is what I did. Yes, Jody, I'm definitely going to need a new top for my shed. All right, we all can see that, because it doesn't have any roofing on it at the moment. So, but is there a chance that the rodents will get in there and do some more damage? Yes, Linda, that's excellent. I also thought about that. That's why I said I've got a guy next door who's into these sort of things, and maybe he knows somebody who, is a handyman. I know I've got roofing tile in my garage because when I re-roofed my house, I kept some of the tiles. So I know I've got shingle up in my garage somewhere. So I've got the stuff to make it better. The other thing is, can I do anything about the deck? And I thought, I could get a cork gun, and seal, even though it has moved away, loosened, I could put it back, staple it, and then reseal the deck in the places where it has come away. Does that make sense? And the cost of doing those things are pretty minimal. Yes, and where are the thank you, Maggie. And where are the rodents getting in to cause that damage? Yeah, I have no idea. So, so what I'm trying to say is that in order for me, if I do nothing, do you understand it will still keep bugging me? All right? If I do nothing, if I know I've got those two issues going on and I do nothing about them, do you understand at some level they will keep nagging in the back of my head? That guilt thing will still keep on because I haven't done anything to help fix it. So, and therefore, does it also make sense that if I go out and get a cork, I think I've got a cork gun in the garage somewhere, go and get the glue, all right? And even if I get covered in glue and get totally messed and do a bad job of it, at least if I try and get it together and get that some sort of seal going on the deck covering, I'm going to feel a lot better because even if it does rain, the damage will not be as bad as it will be if I don't do anything. And if I go and get a new tarp, can I put a new tarp on the shed? No. I probably could if I really had to, but do I want to? No. I need to find somebody that can do that for me. And the question is, who put the first tarp on, and can I pay him to put another one on for me? Right? If I get those two things done, does it make sense that I will get away from the negative reactions? So, Nana, you were absolutely right in your comments, immediately. And I that's why I wanted you just to hold off for a second because I wanted to do this as a process. All right, where you can see that the negatives come in, and then as you start to process it, then you can see into reality. Normally, when you start, it's not possible. Can you look for free stuff? What are you thinking of? Oh, I've got the stuff. Yes, Linda. So they found where the rodents were getting in. I think they just got under the top. Yes, I've got a tarp in the garage, but I quite honestly, I'd rather put a new tarp on there, so that it like, got some chance of surviving the summer. So, but yes, this is the whole thing. So, can you see the process though? So, to start with, look at the reality. Is there any truth? The second thing is, what is really the problem here? Was it just the money? When I really got honest about it, it wasn't just the money. At some level, I felt guilty. And that's what I wanted to demonstrate to you. That if I didn't acknowledge the guilty bit was what was having me bite my nails. I was a bad girl. Have you ever felt like that? Or is it just me? Why feel guilty? Because at some level, Maggie, as I explained earlier, at some level, I felt that I had been irresponsible, that I had not looked after my house properly. Now, it wasn't necessarily the truth, but that is why I was feeling guilty. And that's why I need to warn you that it might not make sense to a lot of people what your answer is. And some people will go, well, why even worry about that? But the truth is, you do. So if you do worry about that, make sure you acknowledge it. Does that make sense? That's the whole reason I'm trying to do this. Don't compare yourself to others. You will never get emotionally healthy if you try comparing yourself to others. You get emotionally healthy by owning your stuff, right? We were saying at lunchtime, emotions are our responsibility, not somebody else's. If I have an emotional response to something, it is my stuff, not theirs. And so to me, if I don't get honest about what I am feeling, I cannot fix it. And I am responsible for fixing it. Either on my own or I need to go and get some professional help. If I can't control that negativity myself, then I need some help with a therapist or something to help me do that. So, yes, Maggie, I understand that. But that is a very rational adult talking, Maggie. All right. And I was in kid mode. And you weren't here earlier, but you will hear that something had already triggered me into kid mode. And once you're triggered into kid mode, it's like a Pandora's box. Things stop, you know. I need to be kinder to myself. Listen to all the experts now. I totally know that. My adult knows that. But you understand, I was in kid mode biting my nails. My kid was scared. And so what I've discovered in life is that if you can see these things and maybe laugh about them a bit as well, then it makes so much sense. All right. When you can see, okay, fine, there was a good reason why I started to react. You are so lucky you don't spend any time in kid mode. You are so right, Maggie. And I want to tell you, there are an awful lot of people that would love to be in your position. I'm getting a lot better. But I'm telling the story because I'm hoping that people will see what happened in terms of psychological effect. Remember what we said right at the beginning. Let me go back to that quote that we had. Feelings like disappointment, irritation, embarrassment, okay, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear are actually very clear moments that let us know where we're holding back. Right? They teach us to perk up when we feel that we'd rather collapse and break and back away. How many of you know the little kid in me didn't want to deal with this stuff? All right? The little kid in me just wanted somebody else to go fix it for me. Do any of you relate to that? Yes, and that's not a fun feeling, is it? So that was the thing I was going to ask you guys, and obviously not Maggie, because Maggie doesn't spend any time in her kid mode. But I wondered whether any of you could let me know so we can talk about it and help other people who may watch this broadcast, whether you have any physical reactions that warn you that you are in an emotional state of some sort, even if you're not aware of it. That, you know, that the things that you're doing tell you that, hang on a second, something's got to be wrong. I want to give an example. In my case, if I start baking for no reason at all, you know, it's not Sunday, but if I suddenly start to bake, I know something's going on. Does that make any sense there? Um, Baking normally is I'm avoiding doing something. Oh, Linda says, yep, when she wants to eat, when she's avoiding stuff, she wants to eat. Some of you, do any of you get migraine headaches when you get stressed? Yeah, Debbie, I think it's perfectly natural for us to feel, you know, in that situation, perfectly natural to feel some sort of guilt, even though intellectually we know it's not true. The kid in us is thinking, what could I have done? What should I have done? Oh, as one of the viewers is saying, I start to crave or stay on the couch and not move. And sometimes I throw a tantrum. Yes, I think when you start throwing a tantrum, you know that you are overwhelmed at some level. That's good that you can see that. All right. So in future, it's not, don't blame the other person. All right. Now it's interesting, Maggie, because we were talking about the slow breathing a couple of broadcasts ago. All right. And you are confirming it that if you're anxious about anything, which is not very often, all right, you start to automatically start to deep breathe. That is awesome. Yes, Beth now knows that when she chooses not to eat, all right, when she forgets to eat, there's something wrong. She's avoiding something. And in a way, Beth, can you see that you're punishing yourself at some level? And that's the really strange thing. That's why I've been so proud of the work that you have done. And I was giving you credit earlier on before you were here. Yeah. Yes. And I want to tell you something about this childishness. It took me a long time to grow up on that one. So I really recommend that you do the work that you need to do to get out of child and start behaving like an adult. All right. And if you think about it, what causes you to feel like a child? You are scared. You're scared that maybe he will divorce you. All right. That will now set up a whole new possibility. So now you're going to be scared to even cry because if I cry, then maybe he will divorce me. So you need to do some serious work, and I would suggest get some help with that because that's a lot of work to work on. But you also can do a lot of work just even coming here and talking about it. Yes, there are situations that overwhelm you. Welcome to reality. And I think Maggie will tell you, because Maggie's got a pretty good handle on this stuff, that that if you want to stop being overwhelmed, you need to start dealing with stuff and not ignoring it. You know, you would that be right, Maggie? It's like, okay, fine, either do something about it or don't worry about it. Hi, Aaron. We are talking about physical reactions to negative emotions. For example, I found myself, Aaron, biting my nails earlier in the week, and I could track it back to three negative things that had happened. And Aaron, any news on your blood sugar while you are here? Because I realized I didn't have the update on that. So I'm hoping that the story here makes some sense to you and that as things start to trigger you, which we were talking about in the previous broadcast, um, when things start to trigger you, you will see it. And now when you start suddenly baking or what is it you do, Jody? When you start biting your nails or doing something that's really strange, to realize that that is your body trying to tell you that something's wrong. The only way to cope is to deal with each thing as it comes up. Do not put it off. It'll only get worse. Okay, Jody knows that if she's making lasagna, there's a problem somewhere. Yes, good for you. And that's called I now can see the problem. That is do you know something that actually recognizing that you have the issue is half the problem. Most people don't want to acknowledge the fact that they've got the problem. How many people do you know that pretend they're perfect? All right. They will not acknowledge that that they do anything wrong. I won't mention any major names. I can think of one president. Um, but it's like if you can't acknowledge that yeah, the medication is working, Erin. That is awesome. Yes, Nana, that's what we said. He can't make you feel anything. All right. We feel. If we get triggered by somebody, if we react to something, we are responsible for our feelings and our behavior. We can't blame it on somebody else. Yes, Maggie. And I must admit that I think that is where serenity comes. I just don't let things bother me. My life is an amazing gift, and I feel so blessed every day. I'm anything but perfect, and I always admit my mistakes. I am perfectly imperfect too. Right? And it's okay not to be perfect. How much do you think, how many people do you know that are YouTubers would sit down and have this honest conversation with you? Yeah. So when somebody blames you, and that's a good point, if you're here is saying, my son likes to say, you make me feel guilty. And, luckily you've learned enough to know that you can't make him do that. He does that to himself. However, you might want to check in what way. You might want to get curious about that. Is it a look that you give that he finds judgmental? And by the way, then ask yourself, did I give him a judging look? If so, I would like to apologize for it. You know what I'm saying here, which is own your stuff. Find out, seek, how many times have you heard me say that? Seek first to understand. Right? So what was it that made him feel that way? Yes, he doesn't like the truth. Right. None of us do we? I mean, how many of us really can say that we like those hard truths, the 2x4 stuff? Okay, so in the next week, you should have a lot more answers, Erin. That's wonderful. But do you understand, viewer, that sometimes it can be the look that you give, and he associates that with guilt from his childhood. So it's a really good discussion to have, and keep digging into it a bit more, because it is possible that you contribute to it. Although I totally agree, his feelings are his problem. And the issue is that he doesn't tell you that, because I'm not sure you want me to discuss that by name. I'm trying to I'm trying to protect your um, privacy here. Is that triggering you that I'm doing that? Because I know that you're. It's my pleasure. If you notice, I'm sort of asking people if it's okay to talk about certain things when I think it's a sensitive subject. I'm always losing it. There is no doubt about that. So I wanted Kerry. Yes, I'm glad Kerry's here, because I wanted to have this discussion with Kerry, but I let her settle in a bit before we do that. How much time have we got? All right. So in terms of physical reactions, um, do any of you get stomach upsets when you are emotionally upset, even if you don't realize that you are? Because I've heard a lot of people say it upsets my stomach. Yes, Kerry does. Okay. Um, so for me, Kerry, I was just talking about um, at lunchtime we were talking about the fight or flight, and you get all that adrenaline push, and then you start on the downward slide. Well, I realized that the trailer set off, or actually, the trailer, which was 2 weeks ago, right, set off a series of reactions in me that were compounded by the car incident, and that were compounded again by my deck having a problem, compounded again by my shed. And what happened was, it was just like I started biting my nails. Yes, Nana, it's really interesting. You're not the only person that stops eating when they get stressed. Some of us start eating more when we get stressed. For those people who are part of the fitness group, did you notice that I was having problems keeping to 1,600 calories a day? That was also a dead giveaway to me. Kerry, I'm delighted that your door handle is fixed. You definitely have reason to be happy about that. So the fact I was emotionally eating. Yes, Erin says she gets headaches. Ah, but she doesn't do it in public because, listen to this, I try not to do it in front of anybody because I got made fun of for it when I was little. You see, that's the whole thing I'm trying to discuss, Erin, that the reason I started biting my nails, all right, was my little kid was in trauma. Yeah, Debbie, I yes. How many of you withdraw? That's a great. How many of you go numb and withdraw? I don't want to deal with this. It's too much. That's a really interesting reaction. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Yes, you know, when I was trying to explain that to Beth as well, that, if you do the research, you will see that if you don't eat enough calories, you actually do a lot of damage to your body. I don't know if you know that. I was doing some research on that, and it said if you don't take in a minimum amount of calories every day, your body starts doing strange things. You're going to start having really bad breath. You're going to start having all sorts of other things happen. So if the only way you can eat is to drink, do you understand what I'm saying? Is to drink smoothies or buy green juice and get the nutrients you need. By the way, we did find out that honey contains all the nutrients you need to stay alive. That's a good thing to know. Oh, Erin, I so relate to that. She says, there are some days here that I have totally wanted to pull the covers over my head and do nothing. Yes, Maggie, that is an awesome reality. Crying is a really good thing. It's a really good thing to get rid of that emotion. And if you've got a really good friend, they will let you vent. Venting is a really good thing if you're doing it with safe people. Don't do it at the person you're angry with necessarily until you got the emotion out of it. Yes, and this is the whole thing, that how many of you relate to that? I've just seen a viewer say that they realize that when they get totally overwhelmed, they stay in their head. They don't have feelings. They just intellectualize everything. And I was in that state when I first really started working on myself. That's what I realized. Intellectually, I understood a lot. From which way? What do you want me to do? In other words, they want you to fix the problem? Or how do you mean that? Just so that I understand. Yeah, a really good friend will let you do both at the same time. Yeah. Yes, I found yes, I think we have to find words. To me, Nana, anytime anybody says, "What do you want me to do?" Do you mean they're trying to support you? Yes, then you need to be honest and just say, "I don't need you to do anything right now. I just need room and the permission to vent. What I need to do is to get angry and maybe cry." Yes, Maggie, I agree. Everybody needs a friend that they can vent to. And by the way, it's an okay thing. You know, ask Jody and Lauren how many times I will say I've got a I've got an icon that I have which is pulling the hair out, and I will send that, and that means I'm ready to vent. I need to vent about something, and it's really important to understand that that is okay. Yes, communication is your problem. It is not that you don't understand it, right? It's because you don't know how to verbalize it. How many of you relate to that? I get angry, but I don't know how to verbalize it. I get frustrated, but I'm fearful of verbalizing that for people might judge me. And so again, I would really recommend that book, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. That really helped me a lot early on. I still need to go back and relook at it every now and then because I realized that having people around me, and that's why we started Dear Mama Sal, was to be able to talk about these things normally. And how many of you would love whatever Maggie's, taking, right? That she just doesn't worry about it all anymore. And I think the important thing is not to be jealous of her, which is a negative thing, but go, wow, how did you do that, Maggie? All right. And learn from somebody who's learned to control those negative emotions. Yes. And I'm definitely getting a lot better at doing that. Even if it risks a relationship, Maggie, I don't know about you. I have got to the point now where I am aware that my truth may not be well received, but I need to say it anyway because it is just my truth, right? You just want to get better. And I've got news for you. Any viewer who watches Dear Mama Sal, at some level, wants to either improve or continue to improve. So is it negative that we talk about these things? Do you remember I said that some people can see what we talk about as negative? I have to say that I think it's the most positive thing we can do is talk about it openly. Yes, one viewer is saying, I think my dad intellectualizes everything. And I think men do intellectualize a lot. Yes, uh, because if he knows what the facts are, he can deal with stuff, right? But to a lot of people, you see, it is negative because they don't want to face their stuff. If you're happy to face your stuff, then it's not negative. It's probably helpful. And so, again, do you understand? It's all about how you are inside. Men are fixers. You have to understand that. Men do not buy into emotion the way women do, right? We get sucked into emotion. All right. Whereas men can't understand, just give me the facts and tell me what to do to help you. And by the way, if we could do that, they would feel so loved. If you could say, quite honestly, I'm having a really bad day. What I need you to do is to go and, spend the day with your mom and give me a bit of space. you know, they go, okay. They'll probably be more than happy to do that. Or if how many men do you know that have a workshop or a place they can get away from the emotion and stuff? That there's a reason for that, right? Because we are full of drama. And I hate to put all women in that category because that's not true. Yes, exactly. So if you can learn to give men factual information, they will appreciate that. Yes, and I think Erin, the truth of this is knowing your daddy as I do. All right. He wants nothing more than to help his little girl. And you know that you're very pragmatic. You really deal with reality. And that's always amazed me how you do that. And so it's a difficult situation. So the answer there, Erin, is as soon as I have the facts, I'll give them to you. At the moment, I don't have them. End of story, Erin. I think there are an awful lot of people that are really nice people, though you might not see it because of their negativity. Just because they can't deal with this stuff doesn't make them a not nice person. It makes them a troubled person and maybe a damaged person, Maggie. How many people have said to me, "Oh, I wish I had your attitude on things." Well, I'm not a perfect person. I assure you, I have my days. And that's why I wanted to do some case studies on these things so that you could see not only that it happens, but what I do to process out of it. And I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, bit by bit, that it will, help. Yes, Maggie, that is the most important thing to know that, if somebody is emotional. Okay, so let's do that question. What happens if you are with your best friend and they have gone through a breakup of a relationship and they are an emotional mess? What can you do to help them? Now, let's see what Maggie would do. Maggie, what would you do if I'd just been dumped by what I thought was the love of my life? What would you do as a friend? And now again, remember that discussion we had, the difference between a friend and an enabler. And I'm pretty sure that Maggie is a friend, not an enabler. And in the meantime, think about what you would do. Yeah, Nana's saying that she would listen. Does that mean that you listen nonstop day in, day out, Nana? Yes, because obviously, that friend of yours is heartbroken and they need to. I love that answer. Erin says, give them chocolate and a Kleenex and sit next to them and let them talk as much as they want. And maybe put on a sappy movie and all the junk food I can find. That's what she needs. She knows what she needs, all right? And this is the whole thing. Do you know what you need when you get emotionally upset? I know I need to have somebody understand it. How many of you feel like that? Yes, Nana. And that's why I'm saying, all right, that there is a limit to how much you need to listen to. Well, and that is a very personal thing. I always ask the question, what can I do to support you? Because sometimes I don't know what it is that they need. And I think that is the problem with that men have with women. If you could just tell me what it is you need, then it would make sense to them. All right. If you could just tell me what you need from me, then I'd be able to do something and I would feel better because I'd feel I was doing something useful because I really don't know what to say and I really don't understand all this emotion. All right. So, Carrie, um, yes, Kerry, what I was wanted to get your input on was because I was talking about my reaction. but you had a traumatic event happen, and then you were telling us at lunchtime, and I thought people would find benefit in listening to that side of the story, that after the high adrenaline of the problem, you then came on this slide down afterwards. As the adrenaline left your body, you went into like a withdrawal symptom, and it took you 2 weeks to get control again. So here is what the problem is if listening to your friend is beginning to really seriously affect your mood, and you can't control yourself, then you are the wrong person for them to be talking to at this time, for any length of time. You need to be able to get away from it. Now, it's really important that you find words to do that. Kerry, what I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to ask you because I know you pretty well, and I know that you are very straight on stuff. My question is, was there some level of guilt attached to the fact that you couldn't fix the problem? And that you couldn't cope with listening to it anymore? Because I was talking today about the fact that we have, these two basic emotions, love and fear. And part of what I realized, the reason I started biting my nails, yes, was because I felt guilty at some level. So that's why I wanted to check with you whether you could relate to that. At some level, you felt a little guilty. Yeah. So that's the learning, Kerry, right? Why did I feel guilty? And so to me, that was a big warning sign. Why am I biting my nails? I mean, you guys know I normally have beautiful nails. It's like, why am I biting my nails? It's time for me to do some work on me. All right. Something's going on that I don't realize. And so that's when I have to open up the box. Did I want to? No. But I had to open up the box in here and find out what was getting up my nose. Something was. Yes, the person concerned, the didn't take the social cues you gave. And you had to get quite nasty to be able to stop it happening. And that would make you feel guilty as well. Yes, and that's the whole thing. I've got another viewer saying, I did feel a little guilty, when I put down the boundaries, but it had to be done. That's great. I think when you walk in and find your husband dead in bed, it is human nature at some level to feel, gosh, what did I miss here? What did I not do? And Nana, to be out shopping when something happened to Rick, I think it's human nature that at some level there was a little guilt. It's like, why wasn't I there when he needed me? So I look at all this stuff and go, I think it's perfectly normal. And I believe what is healthy is that we can look at it, see it, forgive ourselves, and move on. Now, when you've done a lot of work, you'll be able to get to where Maggie is, which is in adult. Right? And I say in adult because a perfectly adult thinker, right, doesn't waste their time with guilt and shame and all the rest of it. Yes, but there was fear, is the point that I'm trying to say. Yeah, of course, you would still be working on adrenaline. When you went to get the prescription, you would be working on adrenaline for probably 2 or 3 days. The conversation I was having with Kerry earlier was about what happened after that. What was that journey down like? When the adrenaline started to leave the body, and normally that's a difficult time. I had this situation with my car. Yes, Maggie, and we talk so much about that, all right? Boundaries are so very important. And for those of you who heard the story about my car, there was a moment where I just went, no, that's enough. I need to now tell him he has to help me. All right. This is now dangerous. So what I'm hoping is that this will give you a little bit of food for thought. All right. A difficult subject. Yes, Nana, a total blur because your mind was overloaded. How many of you have been in that situation? I'm sure that some of you relate to this. That again, as we were talking about, when you are in a crisis situation like that, your adrenaline is pumping so hard to help you survive this, to be able to deal with it. You need, that you actually get into. You're not in reality. You're in some sort of I want to say alter state. Yes, all you could do was cry and pray. And boy, do we so relate to that. And so what I'm trying to do is to make sure that you guys can see it, all right? And that you can forgive yourself for having these moments. Because if you remember what it said, if you can feel these things happening, that is a huge step, because that is a reality check, right? It's trying to tell you something's going wrong. If you ignore it and go withdraw, hide, pretend it isn't happening, you will get sick. And one of the things I say to my friends when they phone me and they are constantly ill is, what are you sick and tired of? And they go, what? Now, I notice you've been sick nonstop for the last couple of months. So what are you sick and tired of? Because I am a great believer in that as well, that you know, a lot of our illnesses, if you ever read Louise Hay, Louise Hay did a whole lifetime of work around the fact that you can heal yourself, right? That our body tells us what's wrong if we care to listen to it. And so if you are sick and tired, there's a reason for it. You know, you are not dealing in reality, Maggie. You're not dealing in adult. So I would ask you, yes, if you would write to me about that, and then also give me permission whether or not I can tell the story, and then, use it as a case study, and then give me permission whether or not I can use your name. That would be awesome, because I am sure a lot of people will relate to it. But how many of you find that doing the case studies helps you sort of go, wait a minute, why I wouldn't react like that? Why would somebody react? Or you go, yeah, I relate to that. Yes, and Beth, that's why in the fitness group, we always talk about the averages. By the way, I was showing a picture today. I was showing people this picture that I painted. And what I said is, for some people, this is a great picture. And to me, it was a total disaster. Now, the reason it was a total disaster, and by the way, I still like it, but it was a total disaster because it was not what I started with. And I did manage to do that, Jody. Thank you for reminding me earlier. By the way, big round of applause for Jody for all she does on the admin side to help me. And I am now going to find that picture because I had it here specially. How many of you know that sometimes life just doesn't go the way you want it to? This picture you just saw started off looking like this. And what happened was the white was too liquid and it ran through all the other colors. And that's why you will hear me say, isn't that beautiful? That's why you will hear me say, it's now in the hands of the drying gods. And that's what the drying gods did to my picture. But only we know this was not what it was meant to be. You see, somebody seeing this doesn't know that was a mistake. And therefore, it's not a bad picture. It's just not what I had planned. Makes sense. So can I waste a lot of time, as Maggie says, can I waste a lot of time crying about the fact that I lost the great picture, in my view? And there are some of you going, you see, this is the reality. Some of you going, no, I like the way it turned out better than that. Well, you know something, Debbie? You know something, Debbie? Yeah. How long has Jeff been gone? We're delighted because you are in love. And you have let go of the guilt of the other situation. Well done. That's what you've done. You've let that go. You're just moving on. So it's been a year. All right. So, Debbie, one of the things I say is the first year is always um, the worst, right? The first year, the first anniversary, the first birthday, whatever. Were you very much in love with Jeff? And I ask that question because to me, I am pretty sure that if this answer is yes, then he would not want you to carry on grieving. He would want you to be happy. And it's not happy to move on, but it is important to your mental health that you do, but in your own time. So again, Debbie, what about doing just a little bit? It's a bit like, I'm downsizing my house to sell it. I don't want to do that, right? At some level, I keep stopping because I don't want to sell my house. I love my house, but reality sucks. And the reality is I need to get it done. So I'm now allowing myself to take baby steps every day. So, Debbie, what I would challenge you to do is maybe get a couple of boxes and just challenge yourself to fill a box a week. All right? If that's what you need to do. Because if at the end of the week you say, did I do something towards moving on? The answer is, yeah, I cleared at least one box. And I do that. I have about 6 boxes. I have about 6 boxes in my hallway. And every day I try and throw something into them. There's some, one is a box to go down to the garage. One is a box that, does this or that. You see, every day I ask myself, did I put something in a box? Because if I did, then I am doing something towards moving on. Can you imagine that when I found out about the deck and the shed, that really stopped me for a couple of days. But tomorrow is Saturday, and Saturday is my day. And tomorrow I will be doing some serious cleaning and sorting. So the question I would have for you, Debbie, is how can we help you with that? What would you like us to check in with you? All right. So can we put you on our list that you are trying to clean up? And that you can give us, when you're here, you can give us reports on how it's going, good or bad. If it's difficult, then let's hear that as well, all right? Yeah, because if and really, I found that just literally, I have got to the stage, Debbie, that I literally go one thing out of the bedroom in the morning when I leave my bedroom. All right. Take one thing and get it cleaned up. Take one thing out of this room. Just write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. Anybody who wants to update me, and if you want me to, I know you need that, Debbie. That's what friends do, right? We hold your hand while you do it. We can't do it for you. You have to do it, right? I have to downsize. Nobody can do it for me. But what I try and do is I try and tell my support team that this is what I'm trying to do next. At the moment, I've got a big thing in my day. By the way, Debbie, would it help? I'm going to do a broadcast about that next week. How do you deal with these things when they overload you? Would that help you? When they you know you've got to deal with them, but they actually emotionally overload you. How do you deal with them? Yep. So I'm doing that. Can you guys still hear me? I moved my headphones and it sounds totally different. So I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, so we're going to be doing that. And I think I called it, Debbie, when you start making lists of your lists. Do any of you relate to that one, right? So I want to just talk about some of the ways that you guys deal with overload. Now, on Sunday, just so that you know, on Sunday, I'm going to do the broadcast on recycling and reusing stuff. Kerry, we're delighted you're in such a good mood. I really are. That's, we all are so happy for you. There's nothing like that feeling, is there? So if you've got anything that you recycle, if you've got anything that you reuse, instead of throwing it away, you reuse it for something else. If you repurpose stuff, start taking a couple of notes so that I'm not the one doing all the work on Sunday. And by the way, I'm doing stuffed burgers for Sunday dinner. And do any of you need me to, I did record it once, but do any of you need an update on how I do that? So here is my assignment for you all. We've spent today talking about emotions quite a bit. And I want to get away from that for a little while because that's a really serious discussion that we've had for today. What I wanted to just say to you is that just be aware. Just being aware of what your emotions are doing to you. Kerry, well done. Your laundry's all done. You see, it's amazing what you can get done when you are in a positive frame of mind, right? I want to tell you, Erin, that I tried it one day and I now have a great problem not having stuffed burgers. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I'm going to have burgers, I want stuffed burgers. And so and funny enough, I have mixed, just so that you know, I've already mixed some of the stuff together. It's actually frozen, but I mixed it up last week. I mixed up some leftover ham, which I really recommend, by the way. I made ground leftover ham and put it in with the beef. So that's a good way to use up I find I always end up with extra ham. Why? Because the ham, has a really good taste to it. How many of you know I will be adding bacon as well? I will crumble up bacon before I make it and then stuff it with, all right. The favorite everybody loves is cheese and carameled onions. How many of you want to come over? And I want to tell you, once you know how to do it, it is really simple to do. And I don't need a bun. When you've got a stuffed burger, it is a meal unto itself. And it's up to you what you put in it, right? So, I mean, if it were not that I'm doing it for people who don't like that sort of thing, I'd probably be putting in brie cheese and asparagus or something. How many of you are going, yeah, I could do that? What other things could you put inside a burger that would be really tasty, other than the obvious? I put the bacon in the patty mixture. So Yes, so to me, asparagus and brie cheese inside would be really tasty. And so think about some creative things that you could do with stuffing burgers. And by the way, if you run out of ideas, that's what Google is for. I have to say that it is one of those things where I did say to myself, how come I lived a lifetime and didn't know about these? Really. And every time, every time it gets to this time of the year, I ask downstairs. Yes, mushrooms are really good inside. I actually will do some that are cheese and mushroom and some that are cheese and onion. Some may have all cheese, onion, and mushroom, actually. Depends on, I'll give people a choice. Don't you think that's a good thing to do? These are your options. And so what I do is I make sure that the burger itself has a lot of good stuff in it. Like I will probably chop up very finely some sweet peppers as well and onion. It is so easy. If it were not easy, I wouldn't do it. So once you know how to do it, like life, isn't it true that in life, everything's easy to do once you know how to do it? So I want to know before I go off, did this broadcast help any of you see the reality of that very strong emotion can have a physical effect, and your body will tell you that you have been triggered at some level, at a deep subconscious level. Even if you don't want to see it, your body will tell you that it's happened. Okay, that's the message I wanted to get through, is that once you can acknowledge that and go, wait a minute, I'm withdrawing. Wait a minute, I'm biting my nails. Wait a minute, I'm self-harming, whatever. Yes, Sakura, let me tell you what I believe happens to you. Are you ready for a 2x4? Okay, so Sakura, I don't know, but is there any chance that you so want to please him that you don't want to disappoint him? Now, can you also see, and here's the 2x4, that because you are so busy trying to do the first bit that you actually are disappointing him, right? But here's the reality. You need to talk to him about that. And just say to him, I am so scared of upsetting you and disappointing you. Because that's what it is. That's what it is for you. And I'm going to get the help because I need it. It's time for me to start seeing that I'm okay as I am. And, you have to remember that you can see that for him, it's like if you sold him the perfect person. Yeah. If you sold him this picture of a perfect person and that's who he married, and now he's finding out, that this person cries a lot and withdraws a lot. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not the person that I married. All right. So you need to apologize for that and go, you know, but I'm on a path now. This is, so I need your help. And if you think I am acting like a child, then, hit me with the 2x4, but ask my permission first so I can be ready. All right. Do you notice how I always do that, Sakura? All right. That I will ask people, I need to hit you with a 2x4. Do I have your permission? Because then it gives them a chance just to take a deep breath. I know that what I'm about to say may not be pleasant to hear, but I think maybe that truth is necessary. And so give him permission to do the same thing, but please ask him to give you a warning so that you can take a deep breath first. And, have a code word. Okay? Have a code word that means you're acting like a child. He has more expectations of you. How many of you relate to that one? So you feel that you are not meeting his expectations. I went through that when I got married as well. And you know what I found out? The expectations were unrealistic. Because I wasn't honest. And I have to say that because I wasn't honest, my husband thought I could cope with a lot more than I could. Well, you know something, Aaron? We've gone through good and bad together, and I hope that we will continue to. And you still inspire me, whether you like it or not. So, I want to thank you for being there in my life because I know whenever I get overwhelmed or upset, I'm thinking, yeah, and what about Aaron? Get your stuff together and be proactive. You're only one person. You see, the biggest problem that I believe you have, Sakura, is you don't know how to verbalize these things without crying. So one of the things I'd like to recommend is he starts loading expectations on you. You need to get a sense of humor and go, I hear all of that. Now, I'm only one person, so which one thing would you like me to start working on? I used to have that with bosses, that used to be loading stuff on me. And after a while, I'd go, excuse me, I'm just one person here, right? So you've just given me 20 things to do and they're all vitally urgent. So that's impossible. Which one would you like me to start with? And when I finish that, which one do you want me to go to next? Because I can only do one thing at a time. Makes sense, Sakura. You need to get words going. You don't have the words. That's your problem. It's not that you're not capable of doing stuff. You don't have the words to stop the onslaught. So big hug. Maggie's got them. It's like, yeah, I know it's what you'd like me to do, but the answer is no. I'm a bit busy today. I'm pretty sure that would be her answer. So everybody, thank you for your time. We're going to have a fun broadcast on Sunday. Please bring, some comments about what you reuse. Yeah, we all need some of Maggie's skills. So Maggie, stay around. We need you. You are the adult in the room, Maggie. So whatever it is that you reuse or recycle or do whatever, let us know so that we can help people find, repurpose, bring it with you so that we can share, because people really love those broadcasts where we share that sort of information. All right, everybody, thank you for your time and effort. I cannot tell you how draining putting together these two broadcasts was. As you can probably imagine, if you take a second to try and actually not only do the format for them, but also to actually own my stuff for 4 hours of broadcasting. How many of you can understand that took a bit of a toll? But the good news is that if it helped anybody, that it was well worth every moment I spent on it. And I'm just hoping, Kerry, stay in love. We love that. You see, that's the bit that you missed, Kerry, is that we are either in love or we're in fear. Yeah. All right. And Sakura, no problem at all. Write and let me know what the story is and how we can help. Big hugs to everybody. Well done for the work. I'm so proud of you all that trying to just improve a little bit. And Maggie, we're not going to put you on a pedestal because I think you're a human being somewhere in there. you're not perfect and that you understand what we're talking about. You've just learned to let a lot of it go. And we love that. All right, everybody, have a super Saturday. I'll see you on Sunday. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, please remember to look after one another. And Erin, thank you for looking after Kerry so well when she needed it. And Lauren, we look forward to you getting home. And Erin, as soon as you can, let us know how those tests go. And we will see you on Sunday. This is me saying, look after one another. But most of all, remember, look after yourself and own your own emotions. Your emotions belong to you. Nobody else created them. You did. Bye-bye for now.